I think the top story we want to discuss for this segment on this episode is a team of researchers in Japan has managed to, let me make sure I describe this correctly. I'm actually going to pull up the article while I talk about it because this is pretty advanced stuff that they do. So they have managed to use Stable Diffusion, which is one of these image generation models, to reconstruct brain images without fine-tuning the model. So they've essentially shown images to these test subjects. They put them in an MRI machine. They've gotten that MRI data, and they've fed that back into this diffusion model, this image generation model. And the images that they're able to reconstruct from this MRI data is pretty insane. So up at the top here, you can see the images that were shown to the test subjects. And down at the bottom, this is the output for the images that were recreated from the data from those MRIs. So I'm going to be honest, I don't understand exactly how they're doing this. It's kind of freaky technology to me. I think this section right here kind of summarizes it as best that I would be able to. It says specifically, the researchers map brain regions as inputs to image and text encoders. The lower brain regions are mapped to the image encoder, and the upper brain regions are mapped to the text encoder. This allows the system to use image composition and semantic content for reconstruction. Have you seen the Black Mirror episode where they're able to like replay their memories?
Yeah.
This seems like a step towards that.
Yeah. I mean, they're reading people's brains and then creating images.
I do think it's an important distinction to say it's like AI is not necessarily reading your mind. It's reading the data that was collected through a very specialized machine that can read your brainwaves.
That's the same thing.
I don't think so.
Yeah. It's just reading your mind through other technology. I mean, it's just reading your mind through several different technologies.
I mean, I'm just saying, like, anyway, you have to be stuck in an MRI machine for AI to read your brain, which is...
Well, I think that's ultimately the good transition from Neuralink to this is... That's what Elon is trying to do is take these brain waves and these brain signals, just like what's happening here, read them using some kind of technology. In this case, it's an MRI, and then create an output for artificial intelligence to take action on, which is what happened.
Yeah. The brain-machine interface mixed with a technology like this, I think, is where you can start to see how something like what exists in Black Mirror could actually come to be a real thing in the future. And I think it's just like...
the pace at which this stuff is happening right now is unbelievable. I mean, it's not going to be long until we're going to have little robo assistants walking through our homes and chips in our head. I mean, it's going to happen in our generation for sure.
Yeah, I agree. I think a lot of this stuff it'll be our kids' problems. I don't know if we'll be dealing with it as much. Maybe when we're 60, 70, 80. Sooner than that.
No, I think it'll be about that.
Yeah, that's kind of my prediction on it. All right, that's probably one of the most wild stories I've come across in a while as it relates to AI. Another story that we wanted to go over, talk about this Shopify chatbot.
Pull up the video here. I think it's best to just see. Essentially, it's a chatbot. You talk to it, and it will basically interface with Shopify and pull up exactly what you want, suggest options, and then you can just buy it right in line with the chat.
Yeah, so you can kind of talk through what it's doing here. In this example, it's saying like, hey, I'm hosting a dinner party for this specific type of Japanese meal. I need, special cooking utensils to do this. And then it's going through and suggesting them and pulling up vendors that sell specifically what they're looking for. It's making suggestions. It's saying, let's get this one, let's get that one, add it to the cart. Boom, boom, boom.
Yeah.
Pretty wild shopping experience.
You can start to get this idea of, whether it's Microsoft or Google, wherever you're interfacing with the internet, you're just going to have a chat bot. I think we're going to get used to interfacing with the internet via like a chat interface.
And I think that brings us on to this last headline that I was following and pretty excited about this week, and that is that ChatGPT's API is now available, and it's actually really cheap. So to your point about interfacing with a lot of applications and different things like that through a chat feature, through natural language, I think there's huge potential for pretty much every kind of software, like software that's really complex, to be able to interface with that in a natural language sort of way. Let's take like Adobe Illustrator. for example, or Photoshop, something that's like takes a lot of learning to figure out how to use it effectively. Being able to have, a chat-like feature to say, okay, take out the background on this, and then that can translate that into the software. I think that sort of stuff is coming. And while you give a couple other thoughts on this, I want to try and pull up a tweet I think that I sent you. Somebody had connected this API to Minecraft. And did you see that tweet that I sent?
No, I didn't watch that.
All right, you give a few points. I'm going to pull up that tweet and share that because that was a pretty cool example of kind of what I'm saying right there.
Yeah. I mean, the thing I'm paying attention to is every application, and we said this on the last episode, every application is going to have some form of large language model incorporated into it.
Yeah.
These models are going to be, like I said, like electricity. Every application is going to have either a chat interface or a voice to some kind of action. Are you showing that video there?
Yeah. So what he's doing here is he's basically, I'm not sure if this is Minecraft or not. I'm really not sure what the application is, but he's got this online world and he's manipulating this online world through chat. So he's saying replace everything with trees. Then he's saying make them all tall buildings, and it's able to interpret that and then input that into the software and actually like change the design of this software.
Another thing to pay attention to right now is a lot of these example videos and a lot of the use cases today are, you have to type something into a keyboard, but you'll just be able to speak and it's going to do whatever you tell it to. So we're going to get to the point where, you're in your car and you tell it to, do X, Y, and Z, it'll do it. You'll be behind your computer and you'll be using Microsoft Word and you'll tell it to bold the last sentence you typed and it'll just magically bold it. You're going to be able to talk to every application and every device, and it's going to do what you want. That's what this is all moving towards.
Yeah, I wanted to try and pull it up real quick. So not only was ChatGPT's API introduced, but there's also a new API called Whisper that I would like to try and talk a little bit about as well. Whisper deals a lot with audio transcription. So like taking audio, transcribing it like that, and then being able to essentially do what you say and use that as an input. It sounds like it's a much more powerful version than what's out currently. I'm not able to pull up something at the moment that would dive into more detail on that. But the other point about this story that I wanted to dive into was the cost of this. And people have been pulling up some pretty cool examples of like what you can do for the cost of using this API. So the API cost is a fraction of a cent. So it is 0.002 cents per 1,000 tokens. What a token actually is the amount of text that this model is actually generating. So like one paragraph is equal to about 100 tokens, just for a frame of reference there. And on Twitter, there's been all sorts of cool examples of what you could do and at what cost using this API. So one of the cooler ones that I saw, I'm a big Harry Potter fan. The screen share stopped working again. Anyway, I'll just talk through this one. I saw a tweet that was saying it only costs $4.30 to process the entire Harry Potter series combined with ChatGPT's new pricing, which essentially what that would allow you to do is take every bit of text in every single Harry Potter book, input that in there, and then essentially process that to do whatever you wanted with it. So whether you wanted to summarize the entire Harry Potter series, whether you wanted to manipulate it, whether you wanted to feed that into text to image generation, all sorts of stuff like that. It costs $4.30 with this new API to do that. There are a couple other examples that were flying around Twitter around code and things like that. But the main point around this is that it's becoming, it's like this stuff has just popped up and now the price of it even is starting to come down really, really quickly. Yeah. So,
I mean, the thing to think about is it's going to be a race to the bottom. It's going to be getting cheaper and cheaper as computational power increases. These models improve. So, if you're going to build a product with this, you better have some kind of good either proprietary data set or some kind of other network effect or moat, because you basically, the word that everybody's been using is building a wrapper around ChatGPT, you're not going to build something that's worth anybody's time. There's going to be too many competitors. It's going to be something that you can probably just do in ChatGPT anyways, or a similar model. So you better figure out how to get some kind of proprietary data or network effect around these models, because you're not going to be able to differentiate And then again, it's going to be a race to the bottom on pricing. So you're not going to really have any price control. That's what's going to be so great, I think, about this is especially with ChatGPT, pushing the space and building APIs. And, we've been going back and forth on whether this is truly open source or not. At least they're releasing the models for anybody to build with. Mm-hmm. Nobody can just go download, Google's model and start building with it. OpenAI is pushing the space more than anybody because they let the public do what they want and build all the different use cases that, OpenAI might not be thinking of. So that's the few things that come to my mind with price going down and more access being available.
Yeah, no, those are good points. And then our last bit of the AI Edge segment here is just our tip of the week, as we like to do. This one's pretty simple. This is just around crafting a custom workout plan for yourself. So with this one, we simply fed into ChatGPT. We said, hey, can you create a 90-day workout plan with a focus on lower body and core muscles, organize everything into tables, and it does exactly that, which would love to share my screen and show what that looks like, but our software is being a little wonky right now. This is just to prove a point that you can create very customized plans for yourself, whether it's around studying, whether it's around a project, or whether it's around working out. You just tell, the more detail you give it, like we've always said with these tips, the better it's going to do for you. So it laid out a pretty awesome looking workout plan. It's got 3 phases, weeks 1 through 4, 5 through 8, weeks 9 through 12. It's laid it out in a nice clean table by day, by exercise, by sets and reps, amount of rest you need. Pretty impressive stuff. So yeah, that's the tip of the week, using it to lay out a plan, whether it's for studying, working out, projects you're working on, all sorts of stuff like that you can use it for.